When I was young, I used to believe that as long as I took good care of my children, they would take care of me when I got old. But the older I get, the more I realize a bitter truth. If you do not leave yourself a way out, old age can become the most painful chapter of your life. Many of us probably carry that same belief that our children will love us and they will be there for us until the very end. But life is never that simple. Our children may love us, but they also have to care for their own families, and they have to worry about their children's future. And in the never-ending cycle of survival, sometimes parents, the ones who sacrificed everything quietly, become an invisible burden. I have witnessed many stories like this, and I have personally felt it too. When parents give away everything, they can end up becoming uninvited guests in their very own homes. In today's video, I want to share with you 3 painful but deeply truthful lessons, things that everyone should understand before it is too late. Before we dive in, go ahead and leave a comment below with a positive affirmation, a small commitment to attract good things into your life. Something like, I choose to love my children wisely, or whatever intention you want to set for yourself. And do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on valuable content like this. Let's create a space filled with positive energy, a place to grow and to find peace and joy in our later years. Ready? Let's get started. Lesson 1. Do not let yourself become the unwanted guest in your own home. I once knew a neighbor whose wife had passed away early. For many years he lived alone in a small apartment. It was neither spacious nor fancy, but to him it was a peaceful world of his own. Each morning he woke up early, brewed a pot of tea, sat by the window, reading the newspaper while listening to birds chirping outside. In the afternoon, he would take a leisurely walk to a nearby park to chat with a few old friends about food prices, the weather, or health. Life was simple, but it gave him a sense of ease because at the very least it was a place where he felt free, a place where he could simply be himself. Then one day, his oldest son suggested, "Dad, why don't you sell this apartment and come live with me and my wife? It would be livelier. Living alone is lonely, and what if something happens and no one knows?" His son's words made sense. Thinking that there was nothing worth holding on to in old age, that having family close was enough, he agreed. The apartment was sold. On the day he moved into his son's house, he even smiled, believing he had made a wise decision. From now on, my golden years will be filled with the laughter of my children and grandchildren. And at first, it really was warm and comforting. His grandchild would come running to hug him after school. His daughter-in-law respectfully served him meals. Dinner was cozy, the whole family gathered together, and as he watched them, he felt warmth return to his heart. He thought to himself, I definitely made the right choice. But slowly, the atmosphere began to change. His son came home from work each day looking exhausted, barely speaking to him. His daughter-in-law, constantly busy, grew increasingly irritable over small things, forgetting to turn off the lights, shoes left out of place, a glass accidentally knocked over. The house, already a bit cramped, now felt tighter with an elderly person in it. No one said a harsh word, but from their looks, from the size, he could sense it. His presence was no longer truly welcome. So he began to withdraw. At dinner, he would take a few bites and quietly excuse himself. At night, he went to his room early so as not to get in anyone's way. One evening, amid the laughter and chatter of his family, he quietly set down his bowl and whispered to himself, living in my own child's house, yet feeling like a guest, and not even a welcome one. What the elderly fear most is not material hardship. It is the feeling of being a burden, of becoming a shadow that no one wants around. No one drives them out, but each day feels heavier. No one scolds them, yet every look, every sigh chips away at a lifetime's worth of dignity. You see, children may still love their parents, but love does not always mean they have the ability to care fully. They have their own families, their own worries, bills, work, raising kids, mortgages, tuition fees. In the whirlwind of life, that love may remain, but it is often not enough to make a parent's presence feel like a joy. And so slowly parents become the unwanted guest in the very home they once built. That is why keeping a space of your own is not selfish, it is wise. It is how a parent's love for their child can endure. When parents are still independent, their children love them with respect. But when parents have nothing left, that love, even if sincere, is easily buried under the pressure of daily life. This is a hard lesson, but a true one. Do not turn yourself into the unwanted guest in the home you once created. Make sure to keep a place of your own, a backup plan, or at the very least, something to fall back on. So in old age, instead of tiptoeing around your child's kitchen, you can sit calmly on your own porch, sipping tea, knowing your worth is still intact. Lesson 2. Money is easily spent, but in old age, it is your strongest support. The older I get, the more I realize this. When you are young, it is right to live for your children, for your family. But when you are old and you still give everything away, sometimes the price you pay is yourself. Let me tell you the story of a mother. Her whole life, she worked tirelessly, saving every penny. After her husband passed away, she raised 3 children on her own. For years, she only wore old clothes, ate leftover food, so she could save enough for her children's education. When they finally grew up and found stable jobs, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then she made a big decision. She sold the only house she had, the home she had poured her blood, sweat, and tears into, and split the money equally among her 3 children, keeping only a small portion for herself. She thought, I do not need much in my old age. As long as my children are doing well, I can live simply anywhere, eat whatever. Back then, everyone praised her as a great mother. The 3 children were in tears, showering her with gratitude. But just a few years later, everything changed. She had no home of her own anymore. She had to rotate living with each child for a while. In the beginning, everyone was welcoming, happy to take care of her. But as time passed, the warm glances grew cold. Dinner invitations turned into sighs. She began to feel like she was just staying over. One day, she overheard her young grandchild whisper to their mum, "Why does Grandma have to stay with us all the time?" The dinner table, once her favorite moment of the day, became something she dreaded. She hesitated to take a second piece of meat. One time she overheard her daughter-in-law quietly say, "Mom, eat a little less, so there's food left for the kids tomorrow." No one said anything harsh, but she knew she had become a quiet inconvenience, one no one dared to name. If she still had her old house, she could have lived independently, hired help when sick. If she still had some savings, she could have rented a private room, eaten what she liked, gone to the doctor without asking her kids. But now, everything depended on others. And the most painful thing for someone who spent their life caring for others is having to rely on others at the end, not because they are weak, but because they gave up their right to choose. I am not sharing this story to blame the children. I am sharing it so that every parent out there understands true love does not mean giving everything away. Parents need to hold on to something not out of selfishness, but to protect their own dignity. Money cannot buy happiness. But in old age, money is the one thing that can help you live with dignity, without bowing your head, without anxiety, without hesitation every time you sit at the dinner table. We often think, my kids love me, they will take care of me. And that may be true. But love does not mean they have the resources. They have their own families, kids rent, tuition jobs, debt. When parents are left with nothing, even love can be overshadowed by exhaustion and pressure. And when that happens, parents stop being a joy and become a silent burden. Money cannot buy love, but without money, happiness in old age is hard to come by. Money cannot buy respect, but it allows parents to love freely, not dependently. With money, parents can say, with pride, I do not need you to support me. I just need your love. That is true peace. A peaceful old age is not worrying about what to eat today, not feeling awkward, asking for a doctor's appointment, not feeling like you are in someone's way. It is being able to brew your own tea, read a book, and know that you are still in control of your life. So here is the lesson for every parent: love yourself before it is too late. Save part of your finances. Keep your own home, claim your space. Not to live lavishly, but to live with dignity, so your love for your children stays pure and never turns into guilt for either side. If you are a child and you see your parents holding on to a small house, a bit of savings, or part of their assets, please do not feel hurt or think they do not trust you. The truth is, they do it not out of selfishness or lack of love, but because they want that love to remain light, not become a burden. Imagine this: when your parents have their own place, they can live freely, comfortably. Visiting them becomes a joy, a real family gathering, not a tight, uncomfortable shared space where everyone feels strained. If they have some savings, they can visit the doctor on their own, buy their own medicine, or hire help if needed. Then when you take care of them, it comes from love, not financial stress. Many young people think, our parents sacrificed everything, now we should take care of them completely. That sounds noble, but look deeper. Because they love you, your parents want to keep a part of their lives for themselves, so you do not have to carry that pressure or feel guilty if you cannot do it all. Do you know what hurts a parent the most? It is the moment they realize their presence has become a burden in their children's home. And all because they gave away everything and kept nothing for themselves. So if one day your parents say, we will keep the house in our name, or we are keeping these savings, just in case, please do not think they are being stingy. That is their way of protecting you, so you can love them with respect, not weariness. Be grateful. Because only parents who love deeply and think clearly have the courage to keep something for themselves. They know only when parents remain independent can their love for their children stay love and never become a chain. Lesson 3. A lifetime of sacrifice must be placed in the right hands. David was a successful man with his own company, strong financial stability, and a beautiful home. But every year on his mother's death anniversary, no matter where he was, he would set aside an evening just to sit quietly alone in front of her photo. No wine, no flowers, no gathering. Just a single candle and a few silent tears. From a man who once thought he was strong enough never to cry. David's mother was a manual laborer. She had little education and nothing more than 2 rough hands and a resilient heart. She did every kind of job to support David's education. Washing dishes, cleaning houses, even gathering and selling firewood. On freezing winter days, she still went out early, wrapping an old scarf around her neck, her hands red from the cold, her back bent under the burden of survival. She never bought anything for herself. Her clothes were second-hand. Her meals were always the cheapest items in the supermarket. Every penny was saved and sent to support David's education far from home. By the time David graduated, started working, and became successful, it was already too late to return. His mother had passed away quietly after battling illness without anyone knowing. She had hidden everything from him, afraid to disturb him, afraid he would worry amid the busyness of work and life. When David got the news, all that was left of his mother was a small suitcase, a few old clothes, a notebook carefully tracking every expense, and a letter she never got to send. I'm happy that you've made it, son. I don't need anything. I just hope you stay healthy and live kindly. Years later, during a work trip, David happened to see an elderly woman carrying firewood by the roadside. He did not know why, but he pulled over and stood silently watching her for a long time. She was a stranger, she said nothing, yet her image brought him to tears, because in that moment he saw his mother again. A mother who had poured her whole life into raising her child and never once kept anything for herself. A parent's sacrifice is irreplaceable. But if all they do is give without saving even a little for themselves, no health, no financial safety, no home of their own, then in the end, they are the ones who suffer most. And children, no matter how much they love their parents, cannot erase the guilt of realizing they were too late. The lesson here is not, do not love your children. It is, do not let love turn into blind sacrifice. If she had kept a small home for herself, a bit of savings, or simply some time to care for her health, then her later years would not have been so hard. David, even if busy, could have been proud of his mother and reassured that she was living well, rather than carrying a lifetime of painful regret. For every parent, loving your child is instinct, but knowing how to love them wisely, that is true wisdom. Sacrifice must be placed in the right hands. Give your child opportunities, but give yourself security. Give them love, but keep a piece of your own dignity. Build a foundation for them, but do not abandon the roof over your own head. Because if parents give everything away, their children may love them, but they will feel helpless watching them suffer. And that love, instead of being a joy, becomes a painful wound in the child's heart, whispering, "I was too late." So the real lesson is, know when to stop. Keep something for yourself, not to live in luxury, but to live with dignity. Keep a home, not to stay away from your children, but so that every visit brings joy, not guilt. Keep an emergency fund, not because you do not trust your children, but because you want them to love you freely, not under pressure. Parents have given their entire lives. In old age, please learn to hold something back, not just for yourself, but to preserve the love you have for your children, so it stays pure, whole, and never becomes something that brings pain to both sides. Old age does not need too much. It does not need a mansion nor piles of money in the bank. Just a small home of your own, some savings that are enough, or simply a quiet seat to read a book, make tea, and walk into your child's kitchen without hesitation. A life worth living in old age is when you do not feel like a burden. When you can gently say to your children, "Do not worry, I can take care of myself. I do not need you to provide for me. I just need your love." If your parents are still around, please do not wait for a special occasion to check in on them. A phone call, a shared meal, or a tight hug could be the greatest gift they need. Do not wait until the day you want to show your gratitude, only to find the chance is gone. And if you are someone who has already lived half your life, who has given your all for your children, then today I hope you will give yourself one thing. Keep a portion for yourself. A bit of your health, a bit of your finances, a bit of your freedom. Not out of selfishness, but because that is how the love you give your children does not turn into pressure or guilt. We have spent a lifetime giving. Now it is time to learn how to hold on, not to live for ourselves, but to live more lightly, more independently, and more peacefully in the years to come. Before you go, leave a comment as a promise to yourself. Something like, "I choose to live my later years with independence and freedom," or whatever message you want to send to your future self. And do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss out on more heartfelt stories and meaningful lessons like this. Let us build a community of empathy, love, and deep appreciation for old age. A place where every person is truly worthy of the peace and respect they spent a lifetime building.